Hey everybody, it's Spooky, and if you have not heard, the glorious return of Best of 7 is back. Aaron Keller just posted on Twitter, or X, basically saying that Best of 7 is coming back, and there's been a lot of support and a lot of negative feedback on this post. Now, personally, I'm very excited for Best of 7 to be back. I actually made an entire video about why I think Best of 7 is better for the game mode, especially in the long term. If you want to check that out, feel free to. The link is below. So I'm not going to regurgitate my opinion on this, but what I want to do is dive into what Aaron said and what the community is saying in response, and talk about some of these things, especially some of the things people are saying that I find very interesting, a little bit different of it, a little bit more deep of a take, you know, not just Best of 5 was better, but actually some like pretty interesting takes that maybe we could look at to maybe fix the game a little bit. Anyways, let's dive right in. All right, so Aaron posted this at 3:59 p.m. Today, the 29th of October. He said, "We've been listening to your feedback on Ranked Stadium's format, and since Season 19 launch, we agree. The switch to Best of 5 hasn't felt quite right. Starting tomorrow, which is October 30th, Ranked Stadium is returning to Best of 7. Now, when I saw this, I was very excited. We won, right? That's what it feels like. But the response from the community makes it seem a little bit less so. Things like, I will miss you, Best of 5, and saying, I think you guys listened to a vocal minority on this one. Best of 5 was far superior. 30-minute competitive games with 50-minute queue times. For support, 8-it Chief. It's not worth it. Now, I do have to say this about this comment. I don't think that it was a vocal minority, and it's not really much. There's not really a way to, really figure out if it's a minority or a majority. But I didn't really. I heard from the Best of 5 advocates, and it was, at least from my opinion, few and far between. The people that were, advocating for Best of 5. Now there were people, especially people in my community, that did like it more. But most of the things I heard, especially from the other people that play Stadium, the other content creators, the other people like close to me or in my community, they also agree Best of 7 was better, and it did feel like something was off. And I don't think that they directly listened to just the feedback. I think they compared it to what they internally were seeing with the game and through their testing and what the matches were turning out to look like. And I don't think they would have made this change without it also making sense for the game itself for the long term. Because remember, they got to make money first. They got to get people playing the game. And I honestly don't think they would have made this decision if they thought it was going to be good for it in the long term. Now, obviously, you can make some wrong decisions along the way, as we know with the Overwatch team. They haven't been perfect. But I do think that this was the right move, and people are welcome to disagree with that. But we're going to see going forward. And I do think it's good that competitive is a little bit longer, and quick play is the best of. I think the Best of 5. It's great. It's a great best of both worlds. And when they dropped it, I thought it was great. The Best of 5 was awesome because it was really easy to test things out real quick before taking them out into comp, so you didn't feel like you were throwing with a new build that you were working on, or maybe one that you're like somebody else shared with you and you're trying to test out. But yeah, we'll see in that front. Kai said, cool, we're back at 35 minutes into the game with 4 consecutive losses and people leaving the game after the second round. Now, I don't think this is really true. It was when like Throne of Anubis was absolutely insane and we were getting like 20-minute matches. 35 minutes is about the length of a match that goes to round 6 or sometimes even round 7. And the reason I know this is because I have to edit my videos all the time. Especially like my full matches, and I don't make many cuts into the video, and they're about 30-35 minutes, and those are like 7-minute matches, or sorry, not 7 minutes, 7 round matches. So I think 35 is a little bit of an exaggeration, but I still see what they're saying. You can get in a game where you do lose 4 losses before the game ends. Hopefully the mercy rule will save you from that on round 3, but I've been here before as well. And the thing with this is, though, I always feel, even if we're down 3 and the mercy rule wasn't applied, I still feel like there's a chance to make a comeback and scale. That's the thing that I never really felt like once we got to the round 4, it very seldomly I felt like, okay, there's no shot we can win this. Usually if we get to a 4th round, it's been pretty close. I'm like, all right, dude, we can turn this around. We just got to crack one little thing about it. It's going to unlock our comp. And that's what we talk about these like comebacks is like a lot of times if you're not getting mercy rolled by round 3 and you go to that 4, there's a very high chance that you can turn that around. And a lot of builds come online in the second half. So I think it's good. I think this is, even though probably coming from a truthful place, I personally think this is an exaggeration. But that's just me. Tavo saying people really want to spend 30 plus minutes in a stadium match. 5 rounds is way better. Holko W, why though? Best of 5 is much better for most players who are time constrained, as with no mirror you have caved to a vocal minority and you're always going to get people opposed any change the mode receives. Disappointing. The irony in this sentence, by the way, is hilarious. Because this is a change back to best of 7, and they basically argued their own point here. As with no mirror you have caved to a vocal minority, you're always going to get people opposed to any change the mode receives. Yeah, you're the opposition to the change, man. But I do agree. I mean, that's always going to be like that. Any change that happens is going to have people that are speaking out against it, which is why I've kind of gotten the habit of anytime they do like some big changes, I usually give it a week before I really make a strong opinion on it. And I'm really looking about what I enjoy, what I don't enjoy, and you guys see these videos when I post them all the time, and what I want to see in the future from the game. And that's just to get my opinion out there. That's not to change anybody's opinion. It's just to be vocal about it. That's what we talk about. When they say cave to a vocal minority, that's what you have to do. If you want change, you have to be vocal about it. If you don't say anything, nothing's going to happen. And this is a really good lesson for people that if you truly want something to change, you must be vocal about it and you must keep talking about it. That doesn't mean you can't compromise. That doesn't mean that you can't settle for less. It just means if you want your opinion heard, you have to start by speaking it. Which is exactly what we did when we went to the best of 5 format. The people that enjoyed best of 7 were extremely vocal about it, because I feel like a lot of people felt very strongly about it. I guess it just outweighed the people that were talking about best of 5. This was an ongoing conversation for the past 2-3 weeks about this change, and I personally think the outcry for best of 7 to come back was much heavier than best of 5. And I mean, what do you got to work with, with these things? You can work with your stats, which is what internally the stadium team is doing. And then you can work with the feedback. And the feedback was heavily best of 7, in my opinion. Andrew said, so now that you said something about literally everything else, are y'all ready to say anything about Sombra? Nah, Sombra's fine, guys. 80% plus ban rate and comp, no changes. Yeah, no, it's fine. I do feel bad for Sombra players, man. It's tough out there. Now, I do like this point. I've heard a few people kind of mention this, is saying you should also put the 4th power on round 6. So we get up to 2 rounds of the full builds instead of only 1. I kind of agree with this. It does feel like that final power, especially when you're doing builds, it feels almost like a waste of time to really think too heavily about it, even though that 7th round is really important in the build. But I also kind of agree. I kind of wish we had 2 rounds at the end to do a full build of powers, and then that last round is just to finish out items, so you can kind of like do a little counter with everyone's builds. You can see what everybody's running going into round 7 and make your counter plays around it. Now, I don't know how this would work, messing up the 1 round with a power, 1 round without a power, but I would like to see a little bit of a test with this. See, if you move these powers around a little bit when you get them, how that would change the game and if it would be more enjoyable. We're not really going to know until we see it and we try it out. So I'd love to see maybe something like this in the future to make Stadium as best as it can be. Passport Guardian says, can we remove drafts yet so it doesn't boil down to counterpicking at the start and being forced to adapt against a hero that someone chose exclusively to make the game harder for you? It was more enjoyable when all sides had their characters hidden at the start, and it was faster. Now, I somewhat agree with this. The draft system does seem a little bit cumbersome. I see why it's necessary to not make it feel like anybody's getting completely countered, which it's still possible for the first pick in the draft. But what I'd like to see, and I've been saying this since the draft system came out, and I'm hoping that we see something like this coming soon. I think I'm starting to hear more people talk about it like this. So hopefully we're getting, what I'd like to see is a phased draft system. So both teams have starting the 2 people. So let's say you have a DPS and a DPS and a support. There's no switching or anything. It's just DPS and support on both teams locked in. They pick their heroes. They're revealed at the same time. Oh my God. I did not mean to zoom in. Sorry about that. They're picked at the same time, revealed to each other, and then you go on to the next phase, which is another DPS and support on both teams. They select their heroes once the countdown's done, or everybody's locked their heroes that they want. It's going to reveal those 2 again, and then finally both the tanks at the end are going to pick, and it'll be the 3rd phase of that. So you have less of this like you pick, and then they pick, and then you pick, and then they pick. Instead, it's both teams pick. Both teams pick. Both teams pick. So like there's a little bit of like prediction going on more so. And you're not going to feel like you're directly getting countered, especially for the tank players. How the draft is right now, whoever picks last is usually a tank, and they're usually going to counterpick the other tank. So for tank players, it makes it a little unenjoyable. At least if you reveal both the tanks at the same time, you at least have the information of what DPS and supports they're playing. So even if you somehow get countered by the other tank, you still know that you're not getting massively countered by the supports and the DPS as well. So you're not getting this massive overflow of counterpicking going on. But again, we don't know how that'll work, so I like to see how that would, something like that might actually be really good. Zira says, thank you. I cannot wait to play your game 24/7 again. 67, my beloved. Alex says, goated decision. Barry saying, I'm thankful you guys listen to the player base for the most part. And I know you guys work really hard, but can we stop prioritizing only Stadium? I want to see some love and positive things for the base game too, which I do think is fair. As somebody that's been playing Overwatch for 9 years, I do enjoy the base game as well to a certain extent. Now, I do enjoy Stadium way more than the base game now. So I'm very excited we're getting a lot of Stadium changes and a lot of love for Stadium. It goes to show me that the team itself sees the potential for Stadium, and they're starting to invest more in that, which is why I think Stadium has a lot of potential to be the future of Overwatch. But I do agree the base game does need a little bit of love as well, right? Not too many changes. Mainly it's just been perks, right? Steelrad says best of 5 is great. Best of 7 felt like a sluggish long game, especially because of the powers every 2 games. Shorter games are a strength of Overwatch. We just want to have a good time. And I will say Overwatch has usually been shorter-ish matches. Most competitive matches usually last around 10 to 20-ish minutes. And Stadium lasting, 30, 35 minutes, nearly doubling the amount of time that you can be in a game, can be considered a bad thing, especially for your base audience. But I do think that Overwatch is trying to capture a different kind of audience with Stadium. People that are more interested in the long game, the more strategy, the more the counterpick, or like the item counterpicking that's going on, crafting builds, which it does center around a larger time bank as far as how that's going to be. But I kind of, you got to admit that most of the Overwatch audience, a lot of them get turned away from Stadium because of the length. Most players are accustomed to how long a normal match is, and this does feel a little bit longer. And if you're not into that, it can feel kind of slow. And finally, I want to end with this last comment. They say, we love you, Aaron, which I agree. I love this, the Overwatch team lately. They've been making so many strides. I do think this is the golden age of Overwatch. Outside of launch, for a game that's 9 years old now, it's got a pretty good, solid foundation around it right now. I think they're doing great. And I'm excited to see what's going in the future. I've never been so excited about Overwatch in a long time, man. Basically since launch of Overwatch 1. So I'm really excited about that. They said, you are not afraid about testing new things, and you are honest enough to recognize when things are not going great and make a rollback. And I do think this was a change that they made recently, especially once Marvel Rivals came out. They became a little bit more aggressive with their changes, and I think it's been really good for the game that they can do these things really quickly, be honest about it, and I agree, roll it back when it's not working. They've been doing that a lot lately. Not being afraid to make some bold changes, and then getting some feedback and quickly making rollbacks. I think it's a great system that's been working out really well. The games have been feeling like anything that's too oppressive gets addressed pretty quickly. And short of the overflow of bugs in Stadium, the game's been doing pretty good. And I think they're on a great track right now. I think we've got a bright future for Overwatch and Stadium as well. So I'm excited to continue making some more Stadium videos. Thank you guys for watching so much. I'm going to be keeping you up to date on my thoughts and opinions on the future of Stadium and the current state of the game going forward. So make sure to subscribe, like the video on your way out, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.